Hi there, gorgeous! I hope you are doing well. I am feeling much better. Yay! Happinesses! Well, today's video, as you've guessed by the title, is a very special announcement. This has been so hard to keep a secret all this time, but I'm ready to tell you what's been going on here lately. I'm just going to say it. We are expecting our third child, due on November 23rd, and I'm going to be sharing the gender and the story behind this amazing pregnancy that was unexpected, in a way, wasn't planned so much. Now, we just found out the gender this past week, which is what I was waiting for because I wanted to give you all the information in one video rather than tell you we were expecting our third child and then announcing the gender later. So yeah, that's why I waited as long as I did. I'm currently 15 weeks pregnant, but before I get into the gender reveal with you, I'll give you a little bit of backstory on this pregnancy because it's very different from what I experienced with Jet and Gia, but there are some similarities that I'll describe here in a few minutes too. And if I'm short of breath, thankfully I can announce it now because in videos lately, I don't know if you've noticed or not, it's been really hard for me to talk because I'm at that point where I'm starting to feel really out of breath. But anyway, okay. So when Gia was about 4 or 5 months, I had a dream, and I dream a lot, so nothing out of the ordinary, but this dream was completely different from my regular dreams. And I was in a car, we were, as a family, in an SUV. My husband was in the driver's seat, I was in the passenger seat, and we were getting ready to go on a trip. And I looked in the back seat and I saw Jet and Gia. They were much older. Couldn't tell their ages exactly, but you could tell they were older. And then there was a third child sitting there. And I remember thinking in the dream, who's that? And I saw a very clear image of this beautiful little boy. Looked exactly like my husband. Brown hair, bold blue eyes, gorgeous little boy. And he was about 4 years old in the dream. And when I woke up from that dream, it was a voice telling me basically, you're going to have a third child. Not going to tell you when, but just expect it. And I really felt like that dream came from God. That was 100%. I felt very convicted when I had that dream and didn't know the timing of it, but I knew there was going to be a third child somewhere. Now, my husband and I wanted a third. We had been talking about it, planning it, etc. And we decided that once Gia turned 2, we were going to try for a third because that would space it out a little bit better, and we were okay with that. But God had other plans. Now, after I had Jet, my menstrual cycle was all over the place. It was really hard to track, and I was constantly taking pregnancy tests because I was missing menstrual cycles, and I always thought I was pregnant. That first year, it was terrible. And after Gia, it was actually a little easier to track, but I still had some months where I would miss completely, and it wasn't on a set schedule. So I ended up missing my menstrual cycle 1 month. I was actually about 8 or 9 days overdue, and I didn't really give it a second thought because I thought the same thing with Jet. Oh, it's no big deal. Until one day, I was sitting in my office and I had these boxes delivered for Inky Minky that had just been freshly printed, and they smelt so putrid. They were sitting in the office and I was like, oh gosh. Now, I'm very blessed and thankful to God that I've never experienced morning sickness in pregnancy, but I have always had a very strong nose in pregnancy, and certain smells I get a very strong aversion to, and this was no different. And when I smelt those boxes and it made me sick to my stomach, I thought, uh-oh. So we went and got the test that night, 10 o'clock at night, and ta-da! Now, after the initial shock wore off, because I can't say I was shocked, but I was like, whoa. Whoa. I was sublimely happy, and I felt a sense of calm, peace, and I was just going to place all of my trust in God and say, you know what, God, this is your will, this is your time, this is what you want. And I had had that dream, so I knew he was coming, but I just didn't know when. And so I realized, this is the time. So I had a very strong conviction from the very second we found out I was pregnant that it was a boy. I just knew it was a boy. And as the weeks went on, before we found out the gender, I noticed that my skin was looking really good and my hair was looking really good, and I had all of the same symptoms, I want to say, as I did with Jet. Not bad symptoms, but just like things started to look better, because with Gia, everything was looking worse. My skin broke out horribly. I was battling horrendous redness. If you go back and look at my videos when I was really pregnant with her, my skin flared up so terribly when I was pregnant, and my hair was falling out in the beginning, and yeah, it was a totally different pregnancy. So because of all that, I was starting to attribute, well, this has got to be a boy. And so everybody in my family and all my friends knew about my dream, knew my inner convicted feeling, and that dream really stuck with me. I can still close my eyes and see this little boy's face, and it's just something that's going to stay with me for the rest of my life. So we went to the ultrasound appointment, and we found out, yes, it is a boy. All of these kids are going to be really close in age, which is a good thing. It's gonna be hard for the first few years, but it's good that we're doing it this way. So Jet and Gia are 19 months apart, and when this baby comes, Gia and this baby will be 17 months apart, and this baby and Jet will be 35 months apart, so roughly 3 years. So I feel like that's a really good age range to have between all three kids. They'll grow up really close, and yes, there's gonna be some fighting and it's gonna be hard, but you know what? I'm really happy with this decision, and I'm gonna be challenged. And we do have a name picked out. It was actually the name that we picked for Gia when we got pregnant with her, and we weren't really sure if it was going to be a boy or a girl. So we are using that name, the boy name that we had chosen. I'm not going to reveal it until the day that he is born. The only thing that came up on the ultrasound when we went is that he has a single umbilical artery. And for those of you who are in the medical field, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know, I had no clue what it was either. It's when a baby is formed in the womb, they have 3 vessels running through the umbilical cord, 2 arteries, I think, and 1 vein. And the arteries, I believe, help deliver the nutrients to the baby, but he only has 1 artery instead of 2, which they say can create genetic defects. That's what they say. And usually at this point in the stage of development, it would show up as a defect in the kidneys or the bladder, from what I understand. So the ultrasound tech did confirm that he has a bladder, and he does have kidneys, 2 kidneys. So from that aspect, he's perfectly healthy right now. There's no cause for concern. She did say there may be a problem with growth later on in the pregnancy, and he may come prematurely. And there is a 75% chance that he will be born completely healthy, 25% chance that he could have some genetic defect. But we are not claiming that. In the name of Jesus Christ, we are claiming that this child will be born completely healthy. He will have no issues, and he will be perfectly made by God. So please pray for him. We are praying every day over him. We are praying that everything will be fine. So I'm not going to stress, I'm not going to worry. That was the first thing that hit me, and I said, no, I'm not going to own that. That is not of God. God's got him, God's going to take care of him. So we're just going to continue with that mindset. And I think Jet knows. Obviously Gia has no clue whatsoever what's going on, but Jet is so fascinated by what's happening right now. And when we were at the ultrasound, he almost understood, it looked like, what was happening. And he kept saying, baby, baby. And he's been saying the baby's name over and over. And when our midwife came over the other night, she was doing the Doppler to get, his heartbeat. And Jet was just fascinated and watching and listening, and he started laughing. So I think he's maturing more now than he did with Gia. Like with Gia, he would say baby, but I don't think he really understood. I think he's at the age where he's starting to understand a little more now, but it'd be interesting to see his reaction when this one arrives. I always wanted a big family when time came for me to get married and have children of my own, because my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old, and it was only my mom and my dad, my sister and I, and my mom took my sister and me for a short time, and then I ended up going to live with my dad. So growing up from the age of 12 and up, it was really just me and my dad. So I was basically raised like an only child, and I always wanted to have a big family, and I never really got that. So knowing now that I'm gonna have that, it's is very complete. It makes me feel whole, like everything is right, and this is it. So I'm going to get fat again. I say that in complete jest. It's a joke. I'm just making fun, because when I found out I was pregnant, I was literally, no joke, 3 pounds away from my pre-pregnancy weight. I worked really hard to get all the weight off that I had gained with Gia, just like I did with Jet. And 3 pounds, I was like, doggone it. But it's no big deal. I'm not going to focus on weight, not at all. I mean, this is the last pregnancy that we're going to have, and it wasn't until the other night my husband said that to me, and it really sunk in, and I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this pregnancy. I'm not going to nitpick on my weight like I did with Jet and Gia, and I can lose it after this one's born and stay that way and not have to worry about gaining weight again in the future. So we're just going to enjoy this, take it as we roll. If my body wants to gain more than the recommended amount, which is usually the case, that's okay. You can always lose it later. It's more important to have a healthy baby, healthy body to support the pregnancy, etc., etc. I know you want to see a belly shot, so I'm gonna show you, because little boy is very visible now. I swear, the more pregnancies you have, the earlier you show. I mean, I started showing at 9 weeks. It was like, what is going on here? Because with Gia, it was 10 weeks, still early, but okay, so there he is, little bitty baby. I'm not really having any symptoms. I'm very blessed in pregnancy. I really, really am. It doesn't hit me until the end, fortunately. So I haven't had any of your classic symptoms at all, and if you would have never told me I was pregnant besides the bump, I really wouldn't have known. I have started to get the acid reflux, which that's been the commonality between every single pregnancy so far, and I know at the end it gets so bad to the point where I can't even eat. And it's like regurgitation. Everything you eat, you feel like you're about to throw it back up. So really not looking forward to the 3rd trimester. So that's pretty much it. So as we get news about baby in the future, I'll be sure to give you those updates. They are going to be sending me for a 20-week ultrasound and a 30-week ultrasound, because they really want to monitor his growth and keep a closer eye on him than they did with Jet and Gia. So I will absolutely keep you informed of those updates in the future. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being subscribed. Really appreciate your support, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. In the closet. Hey.
On the rack, there's a shelf straight ahead, and there's a rack on the side.
There's a rack up on the side.
It's called a rack.
The white rack, little shelf. All right. No, I can't do it when you're watching me.
Okay.
Like, if I thought about how many people were watching me, if I really, really thought about it, I could not film this.